Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare PC beta kicked off this week. I've been covering it extensively, so I'll spare you the fine details. Last night, the new 32 versus 32 ground war game mode launched for the game. It's basically a Battlefield clone. I did a video on it yesterday going over all the details, what I think of it, and you can check it out there if you like. This is basically COD's best attempt at competing with Battlefield. It's something that I was expecting or anticipating for a very, very long time, and any Battlefield player should be curious to know what it plays like. Now, cross-play and cross-saves between platforms for Modern Warfare might also be a thing. Unlike past COD titles that treated each platform as a separate progression tree, Modern Warfare ties to players' Activision accounts. So if you have multiple platforms linked to the same account like PlayStation 4 and PC players currently do, progress from PS4 seems to have carried over to PC and Xbox. It's unclear if this is intended functionality or just a feature of beta. If you missed any of my coverage of Modern Warfare beta so far, check the description for the links. In other Call of Duty news, the official mobile game finally has a release date. It was revealed over 6 months ago. Players can expect a mix of classic maps from past COD titles and a new Battle Royale mode. The game is free to play and will be available on iOS and Android. Battlefield 5's Trello board has been updated with some fixes coming in the 4.6 update later this month. In addition to everything previously listed, several new issues will or are being fixed in 4.6. They're adding an out-of-combat area on top of Aerodrome's hangar, so people can't get up there like tanks and start sniping across the map. An issue with players spawning in mid-air and taking damage on front lines has been fixed. A rare bug that made vehicles suddenly disappear has been fixed. The tank weapons and abilities heads-up display has been fixed so that it's always visible. The actual patch notes are reportedly nearing 9 pages long. That said, it's still unclear when the 4.6 update, private games, and Operation Underground are launching. 4.6 should be out later this month. Currently, private games are on the roadmap for this month as well, and Underground is on for next month. Until the Chapter 5 Tides of War launches later this year, there won't be an active chapter progression for players to work through. That said, data mining recently uncovered a weekly challenge system that may supplement the lack of Tides of War content until the Pacific content launches. The console port of Insurgency Sandstorm is in active development. The developers revealed via Reddit that it is now expected to launch in spring 2020. Sandstorm was initially announced as a multi-platform title, but the console ports were delayed as the game got closer to its PC launch. A single-player campaign was also a big selling point of the game initially, but that was postponed, if not entirely canceled. As for the rest of 2019, the developers are focused on improving performance of the PC version. Sandstorm runs okay on lower settings, but you'd expect it to run better given its relatively basic visuals. Settings that add to the game's immersion, like some of the picture-in-picture scope rendering, tend to tank the FPS even on higher-end PCs. Hopefully, the devs can iron out the game's rough edges pretty quickly, as the first iteration of Insurgency ran incredibly fast. Then again, it was also on a much older engine. Apex Season 3 goes live on October 1st. Called Meltdown, it introduces a new hero named Crypto and a new gun from Titanfall called the Charge Rifle. Crypto will have some surveillance drones as his ultimate. The Charge Rifle was a one-shot kill weapon against pilots in Titanfall, so it'll be interesting to see how Respawn are balancing it out for Apex. The ranked matchmaking system is also getting an overhaul. Basically, a lot of the scoring and point systems are being tweaked to balance out the mode. More info about Apex Season 3 will come out over the coming days, so stay tuned for updates. PlanetSide Arena is available on Steam Early Access as a free-to-play title. The Battle Royale spin-off of PlanetSide 2 has been missing in action for most of the year after it was delayed. Now that it's finally out, some players seem upset at the game's progression system, which locks things behind a lengthy and grindy loot box system. That said, if you're looking for a PlanetSide 2 experience boiled down to a more focused and direct game, this is it. It's tough to say if Arena has what it takes to compete in the Battle Royale genre. Its higher player count and 12-man squad mode do stand out from the crowd though. BioWare have dropped their current roadmap for Anthem and are switching to an entirely new update model. Like most live service titles, Anthem was expected to receive regular content updates called acts every few weeks. Unfortunately for BioWare and Anthem players, delays and issues with the core game derailed those plans. Since launch, the game has received only one significant update that introduced cataclysms, which are basically raids. Going forward, Anthem will get seasonal updates. What that actually means is unclear though. It likely means the game will get larger content updates in the future that are spaced out more than the original update model. Patch notes for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds 4.3 have been released. The update will add a new Survival Mastery progression system that tracks actions like looting, using items during combat, reviving, and more. As you do these things, you'll earn XP that unlocks levels and rewards. A match summary timeline is being added that shows basic performance stats for you and your squad mates in the Last Match tab. A new shotgun, the DBS, is coming. It's a double-barrel pump-action bullpup shotgun that will only be available in care packages at launch. It can carry 14 rounds and does massive damage in short bursts. Shotguns in general have been reworked to be more consistent and less powerful. There's also a bunch of audio tweaks and bug fixes. For the full patch notes, see the articles linked below. An absolutely massive update for Battlefront 2 is dropping on the 25th. Called Cooperation Update, it finally adds a player versus AI co-op mode to the game. This was a staple of the original Battlefront franchise. Its exclusion from DICE's reboots was decided by fans as a step backwards from what made the past games so enjoyable. It looks like a pretty robust mode featuring multiple maps, modes, and the ability to play as both factions. Also coming in the update is a new planet for the Capital Supremacy mode. Felucia is a lush jungle planet that was shown briefly in Episode 3 during the Order 66 montage. Since then, it's been a staple of the Clone Wars series. In-game, players will fight across 5 distinct areas: village, sarlacc, farm, caves, and swamp. Each area is a command post that must be captured or defending depending on what faction you're playing. Full patch notes for the Cooperation Update will be available early next week. Open beta dates for Ghost Recon Breakpoint have been announced. Players on Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC can start preloading on the 24th. The beta officially kicks off on the 26th. A private beta was recently run for pre-order customers. 2 new areas, Argyle and Infinity, will be available that were not in the previous beta. A release date for The Last of Us Part 2 might be announced on the 24th. Sony are hosting a live stream event showcasing the upcoming sequel to the PlayStation 3 mega hit from 2013. Ghost of Tsushima was also showcased. The game has had radio silence since E3 2018 when it was revealed with a stunning trailer. Risk of Rain 2 got a major update called Skills 2.0. It adds a new character to the game called Loader. She has a grappling hook and can be used to navigate levels and pull enemies. A new unlockable skill system has also been implemented that lets players equip different skills for each hero. Right now, they get roughly 2 each, while some get 3 and others only 1. A new area and boss were also added. Overall, it's a pretty nice update, but leaves the game feeling a bit unbalanced. The devs will be doing some work to rebalance the game soon. An FPS game set in the Terminator movie universe is launching on November 15th. Called Terminator Resistance, it's a single-player game that has you fighting the machines in LA 2028, 30 years after Judgment Day. Unfortunately, the game is being developed by the same studio that did 2004's Rambo tie-in game. It was arguably one of the worst games to launch that year, if not of all time. So don't get your hopes up for reliving the Terminator 2 arcade game glory days anytime soon. I have yet to play a good Terminator game, but, we can always hope. AMD's Ryzen 3950X and 3rd Gen Threadripper CPUs have been delayed to November. Citing concerns about meeting demands, the company announced the delay with no specific release date. Intel and AMD have been trading blows for the past 2 years trying to claim the best gaming CPU crown. AMD's Ryzen line has typically come in about 5% or so slower than Intel's consumer-focused CPUs, but at a much cheaper price. As for the 3rd generation Threadripper, all we know is that the base SKU will have 24 cores, which is double that of the previous gen's base model. Threadripper has been a monster CPU for workstation environments as it goes toe-to-toe with Intel's Xeon line of workstation CPUs for a fraction of the price. In our final story this week, the Paris Court of First Instance has ruled Steam must offer a way for users to resell their digital games. This could have massive implications for the future of digital game distribution, not just for Valve, but if you think about it, often games, when you register a CD key, those accounts get permanently locked to email addresses and other things like that. This is going to be a massive headache for developers and Valve combined. It could also greatly cut down on sales of games that are a year or more old when people start selling off their keys. I mean, think about a standard single-player game. If somebody buys The Last of Us Part 2, beats the game, enjoys it, and then sells their key to somebody else, that means that, well, within the first month or so of the game coming out, they could see a massive reduction in overall sales. Hopefully the potential problems of this kind of legislation are properly communicated to the government. We'll be tracking this story to see what comes of it. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of This Week in Gaming, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.